Hi y'all, Thrift Store Thru Hiker here. Just wanted to do a quick video about the evolution of my cook stove and food kitchen hiking equipment. Wanted to show you what started off with more of a car camping experience, then moving more towards the light experience. Everything that I got here today was purchased at a thrift store or at a secondhand shop. So nothing fancy here, nothing that you need to order offline. So the first thing was pretty easy. I mean, it started with car camping and the old green propane classic Coleman stove. Just purchased it from the Walmart for like 30 bucks. Pretty inexpensive. I still use it today when we're car camping. My wife and I are driving across the country when we're sleeping in our Jeep. I will at some point make a video about how I converted our Jeep into a sleeping platform for just that purpose, but just something that bought from the thrift store, $1 or $2. Nice and heavy duty. Actually, this has been great cooking directly on fires. Something I can put right in the coals, not worry if it gets singed or if it turns black. Just having something secondhand, easy, quick, boom, excellent. Now the problem with that, of course, is it doesn't really work very well for backpack camping. And so the second evolution of this was moving to a cook stove situation that I had purchased entirely from a thrift store that was a little bit smaller and a little bit lighter. So as you can see here, I actually created this myself, bought all three pieces individually. You'll see this type of spotting and this type of material all over the place when it comes to camping supplies. Relatively inexpensive, pretty durable, and it just kind of says I'm out there camping. So actually all three of these pieces came from a thrift store. Now the first thing I want you to notice is that when I'm creating a cook pot and a top situation, generally I don't like to use a flat topper for my stove. The reason being is that once you have that flat topper for your stove, it's kind of only used for one purpose, and that is to just put on top. You can't actually, I mean, I guess you could use it as a plate, but you can't actually use it as a bowl. My preference, of course, is to have a bowl that fits my cook stove. As you can see, this pot is a lot smaller, a lot more heavy, or excuse me, a lot more lightweight, and the benefit of having a top on top of your pot is that you're going to boil water a lot faster and therefore save yourself a lot of fuel. So that's why these two pieces intertwine nicely together. I would always bring a mug with me. This was kind of the days when I was doing, maybe a 3 or 4 day little pack out with my wife and our 2 dogs. Maybe we'd go a couple of miles out, camp, go a couple miles out. So it was camping and backpacking, but bringing the luxury items with us. So light enough to pack quite nicely and small, but obviously not ultralight for those purposes. But again, inexpensive, probably about $1 a piece, and you can cook right in it and eat on this surface as well. Moving on, we decided that I needed to go a little bit lighter with my pack after about a year or so of camping with this gear, which worked wonderfully for me. So decided to upgrade to more of a Stanley. Now I got very lucky because this was actually at a Sports Authority, and Sports Authority was going out of business. I think it was about 80% off. So look for those going out of business sales. Now this is a little bit more of a traditional sort of setup where you've got, an actual cook pot that's quite small. Would be able to take the heat directly of the stove itself, boil water a little bit lighter. This one also comes with an insert into it to keep insulated. So again, trying to insulate these pots as best as possible will help reduce the amount of actual fuel waste that you're bringing out. And because it fit together all in one, I would put some coffee, I'd put some dried goods, I'd fill this up. So it actually didn't take up a lot of space in my pack and made for a relatively light camping experience. Because I got it at 90% off. The reason why it's Stanley is not because I particularly love Stanley, but I just got a great deal on it. But again, something like this, you're looking at about $20, $30 retail, so really not a very expensive piece of equipment that you need to have. After a couple of months of using that, this particular one got kind of singed and dented a little bit from being beaten up, and also didn't appeal to me because it's still not super light. I mean, relatively lightweight, but not as light as I would have liked to go really lightweight. So I stop at all the thrift stores around our house probably once a week at some point, just to pop my head in and just kind of take a look for something that catches my eye. And I happen upon these two pieces right here that are, one is just a to-go ware brand cup, a little aluminum cup that is heavy duty enough for me to use on my cook stove. And this actually just happened to be a metal bowl that had nothing to do with this actual cook set. They were completely apart. I think this was like maybe 50 cents or $1. This was actually 99 cents. This had a small little handle on it. I didn't quite like it. It was a little bit busted. But as you can see, again, I've got a complete tight fit right here. So I'm gonna have a water seal, as well as I've got 2 separate bowls. So my wife can eat out of this one, I can eat out of this one when we're done. If we're just cooking a backpacker meal or a dehydrated meal, and it all fits together to a very small size. I completed this set with just a handkerchief and tied it up right here, just completing a very small surface area that fits in my pack. I like having the exterior bandana here because it acts as a spot where I can put my goods and keep them nice and clean. And the added benefit of something like this is I was bringing out my 8 ounce Performance Coleman propane tanks, which would fit my very small pocket rocket, which I'll show you in a moment, but it fit quite snugly in here. So again, lightweight, durable, it's multifunctional with the 2 actual bowls in here, and the 8 ounce canister would last me a long time. Now, after backpacking a few weekends and really deciding how much fuel was necessary, we were on the Colorado Trail and we did a six day segment, and this was actually a lot of fuel for what it was that we were using it for. So I decided to pare it down a little bit and go down to a 4 ounce cup. Excuse me, a 4 ounce. Now you need to evaluate how much you're actually eating, how many people that you're feeding, but something a little bit smaller is a little bit lighter. And in this particular case, again, just messing around with the geometry of this whole thing. This is my pocket rocket. I was able to fit both the pocket rocket and the 4 ouncer in here. Boom, close it up. This is my entire cook system right here. So very small, very lightweight, and an excellent choice. So as you can see, there's kind of an evolution here. There's a trial and error, but again, everything out here probably cost me in totality about $20. I mean, really, if that might even be overestimating it. I just wanted to show you real quick my stove. This stove is called Electa, E-T-E-K City, E-K-T City. This was actually from Amazon. I read at some forums online from backpackers who were looking for like really ultra lightweight and inexpensive stoves. This was $11 on Amazon. Had it for about 7 or 8 months at this point, and have been very, very impressed by how light it was, how it's held up on trail. We mostly boil water, so I'm not necessarily cooking like massive camp course dinners while out on trail, but this thing is held up remarkably well. Now I have seen people that have ditched this plastic container, and obviously like if you're really worried about ounces, that might work for you, but for right now I am still getting to learn and love my stove, and so I want to make sure to keep it nice and safe, and it fits in my cook pot. The last thing I'm going to be making a video on, and I will put it down in the comments once I've made it, is using old, this is actually for a duct and keeping insulation on a dryer vent duct. I had purchased this originally to redo the Jeep, so again, I'll talk about that video later. But what's so wonderful about this Reflectix type material is you can actually create and make a pot holder out of this Reflectix material. So I'm going to do a video of me making this with the Reflectix material. But the beauty of it is it's ultra lightweight, right? It's got a reflective material that's going to help keep heat in. And so I'm going to ultimately fit it to the size of this right here, this pot cozy as I'd like to call it. The advantage of having a pot cozy is it's relatively lightweight. It should, when it packs up, fit right over this entire stove section. And you're gonna start reducing the amount of fuel that you need to bring and the amount of time that you need to boil water, because by keeping everything insulated in here, it takes me less time to boil that water, ultimately saving me time and fuel on trail. So just wanted to give you a quick video about the evolution of my cook stove. Thank you so much for paying attention, and don't forget to subscribe.